where are the low value men? Like, what are all the low value men up to during these trying times? Because the high value men, I know they're around. They won't shut the fuck up. Low value men, I have not heard a word out of. I'm starting to think I'm on their side. I think I want one of those. I want a low value man. They don't make podcasts. I haven't seen one low value man make a podcast. Do they not know how to use microphones? Maybe that's a good thing. That's hot. All right, I've never seen a man use a microphone for good.
Until now, everybody buckle up. It's low value mail time with your host, Danny Polishchuk. Well, look at that. We're back. What the hell happened? I don't know. If you're listening to this and you go, I wasn't watching live, or you're watching after the fact, started talking about World War III, and then YouTube, which I'm not going to use the slur that some people like to use for YouTube, but we know what it is. Oh, we know what that is. They just zapped the whole show. So, War III, let's hope that it doesn't stay that way. People saying, what a production. Who says that? Brock? Saying, what a production, just to make it seem like he was on time. I was on time. I was here the whole goddamn time. I resent that. Anyways, welcome everybody to episode 129 of Low Value Mail. Joining me today, I know some of you already heard this, but some of you didn't. We've got Rodyard Lynch from Whatifalthist. He's the creator of the YouTube channel Whatifalthist that looks to try to find the patterns in history and anthropology so as to predict the future and understand the dynamics that result in civilizations rising and falling. And he'll be joining us in 1 hour. But we're back. I'm not getting any sort of notifications from YouTube, so that's a good thing. Anyways, before YouTube shut it down, they got the little meme with the rabbi. Shut it down. Shut it down. We will not be shutting it down. We will not. We won't. Anyways, World War III. As I was saying, World War III has been a hot topic for a while, but it apparently has already started if you are to ask Ukraine's former military commander-in-chief, Valery Zaluzhin. Really pissed off about this stream coming down. Have to say all this shit all over again because I'm trying to do a real show here. Right? But anyways, what he says, I don't know how much you even caught of it because I wasn't looking at the chat. I just got a text message from producer Mark. Shout out to producer Mark. Basically, World War III has started. In 2024, Ukraine's no longer facing Russia. Soldiers from North Korea are standing in front of Ukraine. He said, let's be honest, already in Ukraine. The Iranian Shahidis are killing civilians absolutely openly without any shame. I had some good zingers on the last part, but I guess we missed it. And then Zaluzhny urged Ukraine's allies to draw the right conclusions. It is still possible to stop it here on the territory of Ukraine, but for some reason our partners do not want to understand this. It is obvious that Ukraine already has too many enemies. Ukraine will survive with technology, but it is not clear whether it can win this battle alone. So, I'm no military expert. I'm no expert of anything, for that matter. I'm not an expert of anything. Nothing at all, right? But he's obviously talking up his book here. And he probably sees that the writing is on the wall with Trump victory. The money spigot is soon to be turned off. So he's saying, hey, you can't stop giving us money. You can't do that. You can't stop giving us money. World War III already started. That would be stupid. He gave us how many hundreds of billions of dollars up to this point? Well, you're going to stop now that World War III started? That would be idiotic. And they got this Department of Government Efficiency coming in. looking to shed some costs. And you think Ukraine would be a pretty good place to start. What does that add up to in the grand scheme of things? Probably a nice chunk of change. You would think so. I would think so. I would. And it is a funny thing about the modern world we're living in, where if you believe that World War III has indeed commenced, if you go, hey, this is just the start of it, and our guest Rodyard, he has some thoughts about this stuff, and I'm looking forward to talking to him about it. But if you believe that World War III has started and some shit is about to go down, we live in a world where you can now put your money where your mouth is. And I'm not talking about shorting the S&P 500 the day before 9/11. That was just a coincidence. That was just, hey, broken clock is right twice a day, right? No. You can bet on this shit on Polymarket, right? You can really bet on this stuff for real. You can right now on Polymarket for 9 cents, you can buy $1 on Polymarket that a nuclear weapon will detonate anywhere in the world before January 1st, 2025. That includes nuclear tests. I don't know if I talked about this last week, but that includes nuclear tests. So there's only been, since 1992, there's been 2 nuclear tests. North Korea in 2017 did one. And then before that, I believe it was the Americans did one in 92. So you could bet it pays 11-1. Those are good odds. Or are they? I don't know. Now, I don't think you could do this, but if you want to really get some action, like if you're just a real degenerate gambler, right? Like you're just like 11-1. I don't even get out of bed for 11-1. I don't feel anything for 11-1, right? You get nothing. Well, you can, and I don't know if they let you do a little parlay over on Polymarket. Maybe that'll be the next iteration. Although I think maybe at that point they're like, well, that is not a prediction site any longer. This is a gambling site. Maybe it's different regulations. And, the owner of Polymarket got raided by the FBI and is in all sorts of trouble. I don't know if he's actually in trouble, but he did get raided by the FBI. Funny how that works. But you can bet on, and this only goes to January 20th, you could bet on whether Donald Trump will be inaugurated as the 47th president of the United States. It doesn't even have to be the 47th president. Will he be inaugurated on January 20th? That's currently paying, if you bet no, that's paying 20-1. So if you parlay a nuclear detonation happening before January 1st and Trump not being the president, not being inaugurated on January 20th, which you could see some overlap there, potentially, right? You could see some scenario where if one of those becomes true, of the first one, the nuke, then maybe, or maybe not. I mean, maybe the second one becomes more likely. Maybe not in that order. But if you could parlay those two bad boys, that pays 220-1. Now we're talking. That's $5 bet. Pays $1,100. And all you need to happen is a nuclear detonation and Donald Trump not being inaugurated on January 20th. Now, there's a case to be made, a reasonable case to be made, that if a nuclear bomb is detonated, what good is money? Do you even care about money? Or you go, great, my 220-1 long shot hit. That's awesome. But there's no money, doesn't buy you anything anymore. It's all just brute force and guns and gold and milk and shit. Like you don't care about money anymore. Money's useless. If nukes go off, we're living in a society, we're living in a world where everybody's goddamn skin is peeling off their fucking face. We're all dying of radiation poisoning, and you're like, yeah, I don't really need the money. But anyways, if you're so inclined, if you consider yourself a gambler, I don't know if you can do that, but I know you could bet either of those singularly. Maybe you just bet them both individually, and maybe one of them hits. I don't know. And you think, I got to say, Joe Biden, this turkey Joe Biden, couldn't just hang out at the beach for his last couple months. Like he still gets to be president. I know it's his right. He was inaugurated as president and he gets 4 full years, but not a lot of confidence in Joe Biden right now from, I don't think anybody. Even Michael Moore is upset with Joe Biden. Michael Moore, the Bowling for Columbine guy. Does he do movies anymore, by the way? He has a Substack. Is that what happens now? Is that like the current entertainment system where you go, yeah, I had like the biggest documentaries in the world. They were the hugest movies. Remember how big, if you're probably, my age or around, like those were the biggest movies. They were huge. Now he just has a Substack and he's just like a TDS guy on Blue Sky. I don't even know if he's on Twitter anymore, but he's not happy. He published a thing on Substack basically saying Biden's bringing us into World War III, letting them use landmines and all this nonsense. Just be a lame duck. Enjoy it. Just enjoy all the perks that go along with being the goddamn president of the United States of America. Is it so bad? Is it so bad? That's all I'm asking. Is it so bad to be the president of the United States of America and just fly on Air Force One, hang out at the beach? But no, you got to give Ukraine long-range missiles made in America. Joe Rogan actually just said something similar, and he took a little bit of flack. Joe Rogan said basically the same thing. And, Joe Biden started in World War III. Same thing that Michael Moore said. And he gets blasted by former heavyweight champion of the world, Vladimir Klitschko, brother of the mayor of Kyiv, of Vitaly Klitschko. I actually got to witness one of them fight live once. Can't remember which one, but it's really boring. They were like really amazing technical fighters. These dudes were just units. So tall, super long arms. You just couldn't be hit. But if you watch one of their fights, man, if you ever remember watching the Klitschko fights, god damn, that shit was boring. No knockouts, just jabs. Just jabs all day. But anyways, according to Vladimir Klitschko, this is all just Russian propaganda. All of this is, that Ukraine, that Joe Biden started in World War III. This is Russian propaganda. And, I have a couple questions. Speaking of propaganda, is it propaganda that the chair of NATO's military committee, Dutch Admiral Rob Bauer, told business leaders this week to prepare for a wartime scenario? Is that Russian propaganda? Is it also Russian propaganda that the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, has released a nuclear survival guide? Has anybody looked at this? Because I did. If you're wondering, if you're too bothered, if you just have such a busy life and you go, I just can't be bothered to look into this nuclear survival guide, even though this ex-Ukraine military guy said that World War III has already started. I did it so you don't have to. I looked all into this. So here's some tips for those of you who have a little, I guess we could call it nuclear anxiety. Would that be a fair term to use? Nuclear anxiety? So first thing you want to do is you want to prepare, right? These are some of and these are directly from FEMA. It says, while commuting, identify appropriate shelters to seek in the event of a detonation. So, when you're like just driving to work every morning, if you have a long commute, you're just driving to work, just driving, sitting in your car, Michael Douglas falling down style, just stuck in traffic. Just kind of look around. Don't listen to podcasts. The dead people are listening to podcasts right now. You do not want to be listening to podcasts. You want the radio off, pure silence, and you're just looking at your surroundings being like, that building right there, I could go hide in the basement of that building in case of a nuclear detonation that I'm going to get paid out handsomely for because I bet on it. Right? So you want to be doing that. You want to be looking everywhere. That's a big one. Then you want to have an emergency supply kit with a hand cranked radio because, guys, I got bad news for you. You're one of those people. You're glued to your phone. You're scrolling through Twitter all day, Instagram. There's gonna be none of that. There's gonna be hand cranked radios where you crank the shit out of that thing just so it has a little bit of power, just so you can hear some directives from FEMA that Los Angeles is gone. It's gone. The whole thing's just gone. And here's what to do next. Here's what's going on. Here's what to do next. By the way, this would be a great episode if I had some of Alex Jones' sponsors, huh? Some bunker supplies, some bunker pills, some bunker vitamins, all that stuff. Even a hand-cranked radio sponsor. Any of this stuff would be great for me to have right now, but I don't. I don't have any sponsors. You're my sponsor. More like a alcoholic would have one. Now, because they have 3 rungs. There's prepare, survive during, and then after. So, during a nuclear explosion, and this is from FEMA, okay? If you're in a car when the nuclear bomb goes off and it doesn't literally melt you or just blow your head right off your body. If you're in a car, because say you're, doing your commute to work that you do every day, and you're in a car, what they want you to do is just duck down under the dash. You got that dash, just slink down so that the dash is blocking you from all the fallout and radiation. Maybe, block you from the lights. Maybe you want one of those nice sleep masks. Maybe that'll so you don't blind yourself. But that's what they want you to do. They want you to just duck down under the dash. I feel like that doesn't do fucking anything. I really, really find it hard to believe that just getting blocked by the dash of your Tesla. That's literally when they had the nukes and, during the Cold War and they go, get under your desk. Why? So I can die under my desk? Not doing shit. And then after the bomb goes off, they say take off your clothes and shower, because I guess your clothes can get all these like radioactive particles on them and on your skin. So you want to take off your clothes and shower, which means that if everybody takes all these instructions, after a nuke goes off, you look outside and there's just a bunch of people naked running around. Right? They're just all naked, just running around in the streets. Trying to get their goddamn... So anyways, if you're watching this and you don't have the time to read FEMA's tips, just try and remember some of these. And, just get into a basement somewhere, ideally. But if you can't, your dashboard will, I guess, do it. I don't know. And again, Vladimir Klitschko is saying this is all just Russian propaganda. Germany came out. And they're making a bunker app, right? Because it's some dude. It's all coked out. Everybody gets coked out and they're thinking of business ideas. And he goes, what about Uber? But for bunkers, right? And so Germany is actually doing this. Germany is making a bunker app to find your nearest fallout bunker. There are 579 bunkers in all of Germany that can shelter up to 480,000 people. But they have 84 million people. So that doesn't seem good. Even if the app works, you're like, okay, just a little back of the napkin math here. 84 million. That means 83.5 million people shit out of luck. That doesn't really help much. And then they also released some of the best places to be and some of the worst places in America to be. Best places. 2 best places to be in the United States, Maine and Vermont. A lot of space, there's guns, you can live off the land. And, they don't say it explicitly, but nobody's wasting a nuke on Maine and Vermont. They're just not doing that. You gotta, there's only so many nukes you got. You're not just blowing a nuke on fucking Vermont. Unless you hate Ben and Jerry's or some shit. You're not doing that. So, if you live there, feel lucky. If you live in Hawaii, Nevada, California, Arizona, or New York, the 5 worst states to live in, you will die. You will guaranteed. Hawaii's the worst one. I think it's probably because it's closest to Russia. So you're fucked if you live in Hawaii. At least you get to go out in paradise, though, huh? That's at least a good thing. Nevada, I don't know why. I guess Nevada probably has a lot of like nuclear facilities. So if they get hit, then that just blows up the whole fucking country. You're dead. California, cesspool, no guns. That's a big factor too, is no guns. Then Arizona, I don't know why Arizona. And then New York, of course, because it's just New York. They're literally going to drop a goddamn nuke like half a mile from where I'm sitting right now. And it'll be a sweet, sweet death. It will be a sweet, sweet death. All right, I'm going to open the phone lines. I had some more stuff I wanted to get to, but I don't have time because we started late because YouTube is a bunch of bastards. So the phone lines are open. We're going to take some calls. I wanted to talk about Thanksgiving because maybe we can get through this quick. NBC News just put out a report saying Thanksgiving is historically affordable this year. They say it costs on average $58 for a 10-person dinner of Thanksgiving. They state that Thanksgiving food prices are up 19% since 2019, but wages are up 25% in that same period. So you're actually up money. You're making money by eating Thanksgiving this year. Now, I guess my question is, and you can call in, talk about World War III stuff. That's fine. The phone lines are open, 1-888-949-2969. But I want to know, because, we have all these people watching right now. Is that the case for any of you? Are your wages up more than inflation? Are you kind of looking back from now to 2019 being like, you know what? I am better off. My wages went up. They're just much higher. And, because again, I mean, $58. What the fuck are you getting for $58? A 5-pound bag of potatoes is like $5 where I live. What are you getting for $58? Anyways, we're going to take some calls. And then we're going to get to our guest at the top of the hour. Before I take some calls, please do me a favor. Like and subscribe to the channel. If you're an audio listener, make sure to follow the podcast. Leave a review. It really does help. If you're watching right now over on my main comedy channel at Danny P Comedy, and there's about 100 of you watching over there, I specifically disabled the chat because I had this idea where I go, hey, why don't I stream on both? But come over to Low Value Mail. We got a chat. There's a community here. You're watching right now. So just go. There's a link right below you. Click the link. Subscribe to the channel. And join us over here. The more the merrier, right? Or don't. I don't care. Maybe you're like, I don't subscribe, whatever. I don't know. But consider doing that. Come over. Leave my one other channel. Come over to this channel. Also, if you'd like to support the show and get access to the after show, Low Value Mail Overtime, which we will be doing at around 11:30. We've been doing them for the last month. They've been going great. Fun time. We're talking all sorts of topics. We got Trump banning trans people from the military, day one. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation says COVID did not come from a lab. Will you believe that, huh? What? Didn't come from a lab. What malarkey they got. Anyways, if you'd like to support the show, you can do so. Patreon.com/lowvaluemail. MAIL. We also got I'll never recover from that. A Black Friday sale. Get 25% off an annual membership until November 30th by using the code LVM2024. 2024. LVM2024. On patreon.com/lowvaluemail. MAIL. You get 25% off. People said it couldn't be done, but I'm doing it, okay? So consider doing that. Or you could join the channel. A lot of you have joined the channel. All great. No bathhouse tomorrow night. I apologize for that, but we'll be back next week. And if you'd like to see me live doing stand-up comedy jokes, you can catch me in Albany, Albany, December 4th, and Hartford, December 5th at the Funny Bone. Tickets available at dannycomedy.com. Go check that out. And without further ado, let's take a couple calls, and then we're going to get to our guest at the top of the hour. First call of the night. Let's see who it is. Hello. You're on Low Value Mail. Who am I speaking with?
This is Kyle.
Hey, what's up, man? How's it going?
Hey.
What's up?
So on a likelihood of a nuclear fallout, let's say that you do make it to one of these public shelters. Do you think there's like a
this is in Germany, you're saying?
How do you? Yeah, I mean it's hypothetical, but yeah, let's go with the Germany. Let's go with the app.
Okay.
Do you think if you've got people flooding to these shelters, hey, let me in. How do you think they're going to decide who gets in? You think it's gonna be like a nightclub, like hot people get in first?
That's a good question. I think it'll be Titanic rules, women and children first, right? There'll be some of that, women and children first. Which, if they do that, like say there's a nuclear bomb and they do the women and children first, it will be interesting how they treat transgender women, right? Because if they're like women and children first, and then trans women show up and they're like, I don't want to be a dick or nothing about this, but a nuclear bomb just went off. Like, we're kind of not doing this right now. This is like kind of a repopulation
how they say
thing.
that, like when they say feminism, there's, feminism ends as soon as things get, shitty.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I am curious about that. Like, what's the trans situation when they go women and children? But, they'll have women and children. I don't know. I don't know if it'll just be straight first come, first serve. There'll be obviously a lot of corruption. There'll be people being like, I'll give you all my possessions. Just let me in. Like, once this thing's over, There'll be a lot of deal making, a lot of sexual favors, a lot of nepotism. I mean, it'll be chaos. It'll be chaos. I can't imagine they'll just let you reserve it through the app on your phone. And again, it's 480,000 slots for 84 million people. So I think it'll be.
Well, and let's say that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's say that they do like a women and children first, and then they're forced to repopulate most of Germany. That means that there's going to have to be like a bunch of kids that are just going to be like nailing these old women.
Yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world. I understand what you're saying for sure. But as long as there's like enough, 14 to 16-year-old boys, it's Europe, so they're probably like, they don't even consider that statutory rape. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of like fit 20, 30-year-olds in there, and they'll just like assuming that, the other 83.5 million people kind of just get killed or just kind of mangled and are slowly, get radiation poisoned and are just kind of slowly dying. They'll have those 480,000 people.
Maybe they should prioritize like kind of medium hot middle school teachers, because they seem to like the 14-year-old boys.
That's kind of, honestly, it's not the worst idea too, because not only do they, I don't even think so much as like the liking the kids is important, because you just go, hey, we got to repopulate the earth at this point, or at least like kind of this area. But they have a skill. They always have these like scenarios where you go, nuclear, who do you pick? Right? And you go, hey, someone who can teach kids, who knows something. That'll be something. Like it's not worth nothing. You definitely want some engineers. I'll tell you who they're not going to need: comedians. There's going to be no scenario go, yeah, we need a good chuckle right now. They're going to be like, hey, what do you guys have to offer? You go, I can tell jokes. They go, yeah, we're good. Can you build anything? Nope. Sorry. But yeah, I don't know. The thing is the way Germany's going right now, I can't imagine they're going to be like, just because, they're super liberal over there. So I can't imagine they're going to discriminate based on any sort of like reason or pragmatism. Right. They'll probably just take whoever, just first come, first serve. It's the only way to do it fairly, which is probably the worst way to do it. It's the most fair way to do it, but it's probably the worst way to do it.
Then you get like a battle royale leading up on all the roads.
Well, there will be a battle royale.
Yeah. Now, if you get there first, if you sit, is it like, when you're trying to like, get here illegally and you send your, your husband up first and he's, I got 3 kids and a wife. They're coming.
No, it's not. They don't have that deal where you're like, yeah, they'll be like, you ever go to a restaurant and you have a big party and it's just you and they're like, yeah, we'll seat you once your whole party arrives.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be a pretty dark scenario.
So that's probably the most fair.
Yeah, it'll be a pretty dark scenario for sure. It'll be a lot of decisions will have to be made that people will not like to have to make. But the only good thing is that it'll only be 480,000 people. The rest of everybody else will be stuck outside of these shelters, kind of dealing with their shit, So it's not going to... Like, it would feel a lot worse if you're like, there's 84 million of you and there's spots for 60 million people. And then you're like, this kind of got the short end of the stick here. But most people are going to perish or, get fucked over in some capacity. So I don't know. It'll be... It won't be good. I don't think America has any shelters, though. What state are you in?
There's private shelters. I'm in California.
You're in California, so you're in one of the worst ones.
Yeah, and I'm like, it's the worst. I'm like
California's
right
number
outside
3
of
worst
like
one.
a big enough city that I probably won't die immediately. It'll probably take like a week of just being sick and puking.
Yeah, just make sure to take your clothes off and wash up because that's a big one.
Yeah, where does the water come from? Does the water not get infected?
That's
water?
That's a good question. I don't know if the water, like I imagine maybe like the ocean. Are you near the ocean?
Not really.
Not really, no. Yeah, not really. And like, there's not gonna be gas. You'll have gas for a day before there's no gasoline available anywhere.
Great.
I imagine you don't. Do you have a hand crank radio?
I could build one.
You can build one, but you're going to be able to build one after the nuke goes off? That's what you're going to be spending your time on?
Yeah, that's kind of been that sort of has been my like I don't have the money or the like discipline to like build a shelter and stock all this food and shit. So my sort of like, last minute plan has sort of been kind of like how I got through school, just sort of like nail it into the last month. Like I had the skills and the knowledge. Like I could turn like a washer dryer, and like we could
Okay, well I just checked on Amazon right now. You can get a hand crank radio for $19.90. So I feel like that's a good investment for any of us.
Probably a good investment. I paid more than that for an umbrella yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Like imagine you're just
for
like
a flashlight yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Like imagine this scenario happens and you're like, man, I really wish I spent the $20 on this hand crank radio. And it's a flashlight. It's a radio and a flashlight. So you got hosed, man.
That's not as beautiful. I don't know. It's a cool flashlight though.
I bet. I'm sure it'll have a lot of purposes in this nuclear scenario. Yeah. Well, good luck with that. Do you have? So you were actually going to build your own bunker?
Well, I mean, it'd be nice. Like dig it. Like there's no rules about digging. You can just dig down.
Right.
And keep digging.
I thought there are a lot of rules about digging with the gas company. I thought the gas company has extensive rules about digging.
Yeah, but it's PG&E. Nobody likes them.
Okay. That's reasonable. Yeah. I mean, they do say that you can go in sort of any building, like any building that has a sturdy, like any like high rise with a basement, a parking garage, like lower level parking, underground parking garage will kind of do the trick.
Yeah, but not in a hurricane. That's a bad place to be.
Not in a hurricane. No, we're not talking, but there's no hurricanes in Sacramento. Is there?
No.
I don't think so. No.
No.
Yeah.
No.
All right, cool, man. Thanks for calling in. All right, let's take another call here. Real fun topic, huh? Hello, you're on Low Value Mail. Who am I speaking with?
Oh, hey, it's Travis McNasty.
Travis McNasty. How's it going, man? Long time.
I'm all right. I'm just spending the evening in my recently acquired bachelor that apparently is going to be a short-lived victory because... Sorry, go on.
What happened?
World War III is about to happen. Apparently, I'm about to have all my skin peel off.
Oh, okay. I thought you were.
Like,
I thought there was a Mrs. McNasty, and you had a McNasty little breakup.
Not gonna fucking happen.
No. Okay.
Like straight up.
That's good. That's good.
But
So,
no, it's. You go on, please.
No. Where do you live? What state?
It's Seattle, which apparently is a bit of a target. One of the major port cities on the West Coast.
Right.
So yeah,
and it's close to. I guess it's probably, if China's attacking or North Korea or something, that's probably an easier target. So it's not going to be good. You got a hand crank flashlight / radio?
No, I don't. No,
I would expect some of my listeners to be a little more prepared for this kind of thing. To be honest, I'm not going to lie.
Well, it has been a stressful couple of years since 2020.
Sure.
So the whole getting a hand crank radio preparing for the apocalypse probably was a good idea back then, and I didn't do it then. But now I'm just like, well, what the hell ever. I will enjoy the blast if it reflects off of Fusion sound for me.
Right. I mean, again, they're $19.90. I might honestly probably won't go buy one myself either. Just only because I'm actually just kind of resigned to the fact that I'll be killed instantly in New York. So no point. But yeah, I guess you just got to enjoy it at that point. You know, just kind of watch the fireworks.
Well, I mean, who knows? I'm slightly outside of the city, so maybe there's just like maybe there's a get out of hell zone.
Yeah,
and just take off for the woods.
They say Wyoming's really good. I don't know how far you are from Wyoming, but Wyoming they say is a pretty good spot, except for that it gets too cold. So it'll be good for a bit, but then you'll have some issues to deal with. Although Vermont and Maine are not exactly warm weather, but I guess Wyoming's really cold. But Wyoming's a good spot. All the people living in the country will be set. Absolutely set.
Not Montana though.
No. Montana was one of the better ones. I think, or actually, no, maybe South Dakota and Montana because they had a bunch of nuke sites there.
No, there are nuclear silos in Montana. There's ICBM launch sites that will get hit. That was like one of the main plot points in Far Cry 5.
So Montana's no good.
Yeah, no.
No, someone says Wyoming's full of missile silos too.
Yeah, no, it's. But yeah, hopefully cooler heads can just prevail. I
mean, nobody wins.
I think Vladimir Putin is as much of just like an uncaring asshole where he's willing to just send Russians to go die for like literally just like square kilometers. Where he's just like, yeah, no, that's what we do. That's what Russians do.
I know.
We're just going to send Russians to die.
But imagine like we all get nuked because some of our government leaders aren't cool with Russia just having some of Ukraine. Fuck do we care about that for?
Yeah, no, dude. Like my dad looked me in the eyes when I was like 13 years old. It's like, you need to die for the Donbass. That's what has to happen. Yeah. You need to go. You need to go die a Vietnam level death for something in this borderland region. Like I actually don't care, and I'm hoping that it's just going to be like Donald Trump gets back in, and everyone thinks he's just so wacky. So then World War III doesn't just automatically happen.
I mean, that's the hope. That's the hope. I mean, he is getting pretty wacky. He just announced, and we're going to talk about this in the after show, but he announced that there's going to be 25% tariffs on all Mexican and Canadian goods until they secure the border, day one, and 10% tariffs on top of any tariffs they already have on all Chinese goods because of the fentanyl stuff. So he is pretty wacky. And, you know, I know these are all negotiating tactics. He doesn't want to have to do this stuff, but I do feel more comfortable with him versus Biden or Kamala Harris in terms of the N-word, as Donald Trump likes to call it, which is, by the way, hilarious. You ever watch an interview with him and he talks about the nuke stuff and he goes, Vladimir Putin uses the N-word. He uses the N-word too much and I don't like it. Nuclear.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I think I only heard that might have been Iran, and he was like the only contact that I heard of it. But I only get my news like secondhand from like Jimmy Dore and like other things. Like I never do the on foot research that's supposed to happen. But I really hope Seattle doesn't get nuked.
Yeah.
You know what?
Here's the thing, though.
There was a time.
Well, I was just going to say, because say Seattle doesn't get nuked, right? Say Seattle's some safe haven. Guess what? You're getting all these mutants coming to Seattle to avoid where the fuck they're at.
We already have them. They're called homeless people. They're fentanyl addicts.
Yeah, but it's going to be even worse than that.
Oh God, yeah, no, it's fucking tough out here, man.
Yeah.
I don't want more homeless people. I was hoping the whole popular election, because I didn't vote for Donald Trump, but I can't admit to anybody that I didn't vote for Kamala Harris either, because I might get my ass kicked.
Who'd you vote for, Jill Stein?
I don't. I'm right in Biden.
Remember?
You know, Biden.
Right.
I'm fucking around, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's like Biden seemed to have his shit together. Like I thought they should have just ran him.
I mean, it couldn't have been worse.
God.
Maybe it could have been worse. Actually, who knows? But anyways, all right. Well, good luck, man. It's good talking to you again. We're gonna take another call here.
Right on. Have a good one, bro.
Later. All right, we're gonna take one more call here, and then go to our break, and we'll be back with Rodyard Lynch. Let's see who we got here. And if you didn't get through, you could just hang up, and no point in hanging on the line. Hello, welcome to Low Value Mail.
Hey, Danny, what's up?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, it's Charlie from Florida. How's it going?
Charlie from Florida. Florida was actually one of the better states, actually.
You mean for...
Yeah, it was one of the top 10 states for some reason if there's a nuke.
Well, that's good, yeah.
I think one factor is guns. Like, guns are actually a factor, like how armed the populace is. And
right,
yeah.
Sure.
Uh-huh.
Well, I have a pellet gun. I could shoot and try to shoot at the nuke. I don't know if that would do anything, but
I mean, you wouldn't be the only one in Florida, that's for sure. If you tried it, there'd be a bunch of you being like, "Let's just shoot this thing with our fucking AR-15s and try and just take it down before it lands."
And I got an Indiana Jones bullwhip. I don't know if that'll do anything, but
you're probably just gonna whip yourself in the face accidentally. That's not gonna work. But the temperature's good.
Yeah.
Seems like nobody ever tries to fuck with Florida in terms of like Florida's never on the, whenever they say threaten nukes, it's never Florida.
No, I guess there are some major cities here. I guess any place where there's major cities is someplace that you have to worry about.
I mean, Cincinnati's a major city. Nobody's trying to fucking nuke Cincinnati.
That's true.
No offense to anybody who lives in Cincinnati, but you're like, there's major cities, and then there's like, actually important major cities, and for whatever reason, none of them are in Florida.
It's weird. Like, I don't know what to make of all this stuff. I feel like, I don't know if, do you think it's like all like talk, or do you take it like pretty seriously, or do you think it's just
I mean, based on the whole like mutually assured destruction kind of thing, I don't think that there'll be nukes let off, because again, who does it really benefit? Like, at the end of the day, it's just like,
right.
Does anybody win? No.
No.
But, and I don't think any country's really being painted into a corner so badly that they're like, we have to do this. We have no choice. And I don't really think that, I don't think Iran or North Korea will really let off nukes. So, I don't think it'll happen. But, I mean, again, it's like all these places, like FEMA is just putting out their little nuke plan in case. I mean, I don't remember them doing this at any other point.
I guess I'm too young to understand the. I'm your age, I think, but I don't think I remember I've heard people talk about the Cuban Missile Crisis. Do you know anything about that?
Oh, the Cuban Missile Crisis was literally, as far as I understand, the Russians had nukes sitting in Cuba, which is like 60 miles off the coast of the United States, which is, that's a big no-no. And again, if I was America, I would not love a hostile foreign power having nukes 60 miles away. That would be a problem, and no country would. I don't think there's any country who would be cool with that. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously, they say that was the closest we've got to nukes kind of going off.
Yeah. Well, I guess we could always do it. Did you see the Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that horrible movie that came out like 10 years ago?
No, I haven't seen any Indiana Jones movie that wasn't one of the
last two
originals.
Were just terrible. I mean, I'm a big fan of the original ones, but the last two are not very
I
good.
have a policy right now. I don't watch anything that's like, if you give me another version of a movie, like 10 or 12, like I didn't watch Dumb and Dumber 2. I didn't watch Anchorman 2.
Oh, I didn't either. Yeah, I didn't either.
No, I refuse. I mean, they're always just dog shit. They're just cash grabs. They go, hey, everybody likes Anchorman 1. You go, no, you can make Anchorman 2 2 years later. You don't get to make it fucking 15 years later. It's never going to be like Dumb and Dumber 2.
I heard Dumb and Dumber 2 is terrible. I heard that was not very good.
No, it was probably worse than Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
Which was not that good.
There was a scene in the Crystal Skull, Indiana Jones, where he survived a nuclear blast, and the only way he survived it was he got into a refrigerator, and he got into a refrigerator when the nuke went off, and it blew the refrigerator like it was the dumbest thing like you've ever seen. And somehow he was blown like miles and miles through the air in the refrigerator, and he somehow survived. Like it was like, I mean, if you watched it, you would laugh because of how insanely stupid it was. But
that sounds insanely stupid. Yeah. But, I mean, you know what? If you're outside, it's probably better than just standing around and kind of watching.
Oh, yeah.
I would do that. Yeah.
Well, like they say in a tornado, you get into a bathtub.
Yeah.
When there's a tornado. So, like, I guess, getting into some sort of a structure like that is probably better than not doing anything, of course.
Yeah. I mean, the FEMA thing kind of says where it's actually not as bad as you think it's going to be. It's just, like, I guess the half-life of the radiation is it does dissipate somewhat, like, not super quickly, but I think the main issue, because they say, like, if you have any pets, like, don't let your pets go outside. Because then they'll get all this radioactive material on them, and then you got to like brush them and get all the radioactive material off of them. And
I just know that we talked to my family. We talked and we decided that I'm not. One thing I'm not going to go underground in some crazy. I'm claustrophobic. There's no way I'm going into some underground shit.
You wouldn't go into a basement?
Maybe a basement, but not like one of those underground where like there's tons of people, bomb shelter things.
Yeah, like the TV show Fallout, like kind of that, where it's like
hell no.
Yeah,
hell no. Oh my
God. Well,
that's claustrophobic like crazy.
I mean, you know what? You're not going to get everything you want in that scenario. I think you just got to be like, hey, this is probably the best deal.
Yeah, that's true.
I think you only got to wait like a week or something, and then maybe more.
I'm from New York. I'm from New York. I don't even like elevators. I use them, but I don't like them. But
Yeah. I don't know. I think you just kind of do your best in one of these scenarios and hope your hair doesn't all fall out and you just get cancer and die immediately.
But I think
painfully.
that, like you said before, you were talking about. I think comedy is gonna like skyrocket during that time. People are gonna need like a release. They're going to need entertainment. They're going to be totally stressed out.
I think people are going to want someone who can play a guitar or like something like that, a singer, but comedy.
I can do that.
Comedy is just so subjective where you're going to be in the bomb shelter and then you're going to be like, I'm going to go do my 5 minutes and it's all going to be just bomb shelter related material and stuff. And, it'll be like kind of
maybe crowd work.
Yeah, some crowd work, and people are like, "Fuck this!" Like, you get kicked out. It'll be over. All right, I gotta let you go, man, because we gotta get to the break here.
All right, good talking to you, Danny.
Yeah,
have a good night.
Later. All right. We are going to hit the little break right now. And do not call in any longer. I should have closed the phone lines. My bad. We're going to hit the break. Stick around. And we'll be back very shortly with Rodyard Lynch. And if you're over on my other channel, if you're watching right now on my comedy channel, Danny P. Comedy, head on over to Low Value Mail. Water's warm over here. It's nice, and we got a chat going. You can't chat over there. Or if you just want to watch over there, fine. Watch over there. In the meantime, enjoy a clip from a recent episode of The Bathhouse, and we'll be back with Rodyard Lynch very shortly.
I was out in South Carolina, though, for that hurricane.
Oh, were you really? What, was it crazy?
Was FEMA shooting at
I
you?
was supposed to be doing like an outdoor camping festival that weekend. So, the whole weekend went differently than planned.
What kind of music? What kind of festival? One of those EDM things where everyone has hot bodies?
How not fun does that sound to you?
Not fun
No,
at
it was
all.
a
Like a
conspiracy.
panic attack.
A conspiracy festival?
Conspiracy.
What?
What's that? Like Pork Fest?
What's a conspiracy?
A conspiracy festival. Was it Pork Fest?
Yeah.
No. Or it's like Pork Fest.
No, it was
Hi, how are you?
Flattoberfest.
What is it? Say it again.
Flattoberfest.
Blacktoberfest.
Oh, doesn't sound
Flat,
like fun, eh, Ken?
F-L-A-T,
With this accent, I can't
Flattoberfest.
comment on that. But
So, and what is the deal with the festival? Everybody just like camps out and just talks about conspiracies? Or
Right.
they have like
Yeah,
speakers
it's
and
just a
stuff?
huge flat Earth. It's a big flat Earth thing, and a bunch of flat Earth speakers go up, and then flat Earth
Oh,
music and stuff.
Flattoberfest.
Hey, we thought you were saying something
Oh, I
else.
think you said,
Flattoberfest,
I
yeah.
think you said Blacktoberfest.
I'm doing well. How
Flattoberfest. So
about
everybody just
No.
their
Was Kyrie there?
shared interest of flat Earth.
they've got
huh?
flat earthers from all
leads
around the
it.
globe. It's
Yeah.
So you believe in that shit, Tony?
Yeah, big time.
Tony,
So
you're a
last
flat
year it
earther.
was in Vegas, and then this past year, South Carolina.
And then I bet when you guys are getting like the fucking weather machine is cooking to rain out Flattoberfest, I bet you guys are fucking cooking, huh?
Crazy, and I woke up to seeing that on Monday.
Everyone's
and I
chirping
thought,
about it.
to read. I kind of
I have a curious question for you, uneducated Tony. So if
Whoa,
you're
JJ.
I'll be happy to talk
If-
about news.
if-
JJ, I saw you live.
I don't
too,
think we're
so-
gonna-
wait,
Uh-oh.
well, hold on.
Yeah,
What city?
fucking genius Tony now.
What city?
Hang up on him.
What city? Hold on, because
In Scottsdale, you opened for Ryan Long.
dude, I would
Yeah.
bomb up there. That was north. Remember you were there
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
Bro, those are the hardest clubs. It was all old people
Stop.
and,
I
and
thought you
young
did
people.
really good.
Oh, really?
I think
Yeah, I
you
was
did good,
great.
JJ.
Yeah, I was
But
great.
okay.
Comedy's subjective.
Unintelligent Tony, ready for your question.
Okay, uneducated Tony. So let me ask you a question: is because you are, as I say, an educated guy in crew and groundskeeping. If the Earth is flat, how do you explain the crown on a field, like on a football field?
The crown?
You know, if you go on one sideline and you look on another sideline and you put your eye down on the field, there's a little lump.
I mean, like a hill?
Well, that's not perfectly flat Earth. They're not like.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're not like when they say flat
Exactly.
Earth.
Look at this fucking apologist, dumb idiot.
Well, I mean, that's
I got one guy at the
insane. What, you
bar.
think there's no
I
You
got
never
one guy
looked?
at the bar who keeps on telling me,
shot.
if
But I
it's
wanna
flat,
know
you can't
Tony's-
dig a hole.
Yeah.
I want to know Tony's, like, your, like, conspiracy
Reasoning.
theory.
What's
like,
up?
your number one conspiracy theory.
Oh, it's gotta
It's
be
got to be
flat
flat
Earth.
Earth, but your reasoning behind
No,
it.
I think it's
No, I
something
like
else.
flat. Yeah, flat's my number one.
Why? Why? Did you not watch a documentary that shows how fucking wrong you people are?
It's all fake, man.
I've seen it all, man. I've seen it all.
I'd like to hear your thoughts on the Denver
I'm
airport.
saying flat.
So explain it though.
Oh, yeah, how do-
Why?
Okay, let's because we haven't had a flat earther call in a while. Give me the most compelling case for a flat Earth.
There's no observed curvature. I mean, simple as that.
From space
I don't know
there
what
is.
JJ has
Space
to say
is
to retort
fake,
that,
dummy.
but
Oh,
there's no
right.
curvature.
So
Wait,
space
fair
is
enough.
fake,
So
right?
space is fake?
I think so. I don't think we went to the moon. I
Okay.
don't know about you
But
guys,
that
but yeah, I do not think so.
There is possible
But then
cases
where is
that
the
you're
moon
right.
that we look at?
No, that we didn't.
believe
go,
in the
he
moon?
believes
I know
in
that.
the moon.
It looks great right now.
So what is the moon?
Whoa,
then?
don't talk
Is
about
that
her
just
like that, but I agree.
I don't know what he
I have a theory that really flat Earth like came out of almost like Truman Show, like the movie Truman Show. I feel like there was like flat Earth is probably like super, super fringe. It really popped up in the last maybe 10 years or so. When did you get into flat Earth, Tony?
2020.
2020, yeah.
Wow.
But a little earlier than that, I was kind of toying with it for like 2 years, listening to Eddie Bravo a bunch and everything, and then finally 2020 is when I went flat.
So okay, first of all, Eddie Bravo is super entertaining. But what got you?
I think he's smart too.
I do think he's
Entertaining.
smart. Entertaining. He's
Not smart.
he's entertaining. But what made you? Was it during COVID, during the lockdown? You're like, they're locking us down, and now it's fucking. Was
Why
that
is he
it?
Jamaican?
Yeah, what was that accent?
The Earth's flat, man.
I mean,
literally
are they
talking
telling
to
the
him.
truth? Are they telling the truth on most
My name's
stuff, or are they lying about most stuff
I
nowadays?
agree.
Yeah.
When would you
Me
vote
not
for?
see the boomba clack curve.
Come on.
I do think that's
I
a
just know
factor
which way I
where
would vote.
I agree with him.
like, I think there was a lot of people are like, they're lying to us about all these things.
A lot of things.
And then they're like, well, then the Earth must be flat too.
Okay, but
'cause-
wait. If there is no space, where's the moon?
No, okay, yeah.
Hold on, let Tony answer this.
It's such a mystery. It's such a mystery. You know, who knows? I mean,
But what is the... All right. And we are back, everybody. Thank you for sitting tightly during the break. Hope you enjoyed that clip from the bathhouse. And joining me right now, Rodyard Lynch from Whatifalthist, the YouTube channel. Awesome channel, by the way. Great videos. Highly recommend if people have not checked it out to go check it out. So we've been talking about nukes. You said you don't really, you stay offline. You just stay offline all weekend.
Yeah, I haven't checked news all weekend. I woke up this Monday to basically see all of the situation with Russia and NATO, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, this is one of those things I vaguely thought might have happened, but I didn't put in my circuit board of most likely options.
Okay. And so you were saying you're not really concerned with the nuke thing. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, I'm not super concerned about nuclear war because it's basically inside. So there are two ways really bad things happen. Either it's in someone's self-interest, or it's one of these like cumulative things that adds up to a consequence that no one wanted. Like World War I's a great example of that. No faction in World War I wanted to see the death of the old Europe, but it still happened. And with nukes, I guess the biggest white pill here is aging, because no society has the actual young men to really push outwards and conquer stuff. And when I look at what the West Europeans are doing, I'm thinking, you people are idiots. You don't have enough young men as is, and you would spend them like this. And with nuclear war, you need to see a really desperate player think that they're basically the level of desperation nuclear war requires, I don't think we have.
Yeah, like nobody's really, I was saying earlier, like nobody's really painted into a corner right now where they would feel like that's actually something worthwhile. But I mean, like I was saying, I guess you're not super in the loop, but FEMA put out basically a like a nuclear survival guide here. Germany is making an app to find bunkers, even though it's only 480,000 people. There's only room for 480,000 people out of 84 million citizens, so it's not really helpful. And you know, there's a few other things, but you know, one of the former heads of Ukraine's like military basically said that World War III has already started, essentially. But so you're not too worried about the nuclear thing. I tend to agree on that. I mean, I don't know what's the purpose of this like scaremongering though by something like FEMA and all these entities, if the reality is, you know, it's not going to really happen. That's just what they do.
The only thing I can think of is that they want to burn the house down because Trump won, where they're so scared of populist conservatives taking over the West that they're trying to actively start a distraction in order to just burn the house down out of spite, because they know they're going to lose, so might as well just blow the whole thing up. And when I see what the West Europeans as an example is, I believe they'd use a war like this as a way to crack down on their own populations. War offers a real opportunity to shut down freedom in the countries you're in, and that's what they want.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. With even these other countries, you know, they see Trump get it and they go, see, look, now we have to make an app for bomb shelters because Trump
Yeah.
won. So definitely don't elect our version of Trump. Otherwise, look how bad it is already. He's not even the president yet. Like, he's literally not even the president yet. It's still 2 months away. And they're like, look, we got to make these apps for bomb shelters, all the stuff like that. So that's a pretty good point. So I want to talk about your channel and kind of the stuff that you cover. So your main thing, and this is actually from your little bio thing on YouTube, is you say you cover patterns and histories and anthropologies as to predict the future. So do you have any like top predictions at the moment?
I'm the revolution guy, and in that whenever I go on podcasts, the thing, and of course I don't support illegal or violent activities. When I say that, I say it lightly. But when I go on podcasts, the thing I'm known for is my prediction that America's on the verge of a revolution or civil war. And I wouldn't say long standing. It's only been like 2 years, but I've had a bet that there will be 1,000 politically motivated deaths in America by April. And I can be wrong.
Tim Pool?
Yeah, so I made that bet with my friend Andrew Heaton like 6 months ago. I thought America's going to have a conflict like that for 2 years. And I made that bet with Andrew Heaton, and I brought it up on Tim Pool. So 1,000 deaths by April. And 1,000's not that big a number considering wars. In a war, you can have millions of people die, and it's not really that... It wouldn't be even the most important story of the war, but it's a roughly good bellwether for, I think 1,000 is the tipping point where we've moved past just random Antifa things to this is a legitimate historic event. And I think that America is on the verge of a actual historic event. And even if it doesn't happen by April, I am more confident that it will happen in the next few years.
And what do you have on the line for this bet?
$1,000.
$1,000. 1,000 people, $1,000. And how is that quantified? Like, how do they, like, does it have to be like an armed conflict in the streets?
Politically motivated.
Politically motivated.
The reason you say you're killing someone is because of politics. So if I wouldn't count, for example, if there's breakdown of law and order, and then there's just random thugs killing people in the street due to the breakdown of law and order. I think that's not a politically motivated death. A politically motivated death is, I want to hurt you because you support a different political side than me. It has to make the overt tipping point in order for it to be a civil war.
Okay. And do you see any signs of that it's kind of moving in your direction here? Like, do you have any specific kind of...
I don't want to label it my direction. I don't want to be responsible
no. The direction of your theory. Well, I mean, honestly, if you're right about this, then, and you can kind of pick off these things, then we can almost reverse it if we know that it's happening.
Yeah. I don't think we can reverse it. I think it's predestined. I think it's we could have stopped it a while back. We're way past that point. And I've assessed a variety of different historic models, and I just look outside. Like, I grew up in Philly, and I would walk past a dead corpse for 3 days straight, and no one cleaned it up. Yeah. So you see intuitive, or like, you look outside, and you guys are based out of New York, and New York is getting worse all the time. So you see the intuitive side of it, and then I study 4 or 5 different historic models as well. And the best one I look at is Peter Turchin's model, which pulls originally from David Hackett Fisher. And it looks at 3 variables: income inequality, average wages, and competition for elite jobs. These 3 models have been able to predict over a dozen historic revolutions and crises that happen every 250 years. And all the variables, there's about 20 different of these line up that America will have a revolution or a civil war in the mid-2020s.
Like in the next 5 years, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fine. I have basically 2 staggered bets going. If I fail by April, I accept that. There's relatively plausible. But in the next 4 years, if I'm wrong, I'm basically just going to throw out my cards and say, I'm sorry, guys. Yeah. I really screwed up here.
What's your second bet? What's the 4-year bet?
Oh, the event I described by April will happen in the next 4 years.
Oh, okay. And that's for also $1,000?
Oh, I haven't actually made that bet. The $1,000 bet is just until April. I haven't made a 4-year bet then.
What do you think about either of these? I was talking about this earlier in the show, but on Polymarket right now, you can bet on will there be a nuclear detonation by January 1st anywhere in the world. It pays 11 to 1, which is like, again, if you take the no on that, not terrible for how short of time. It's like 5 weeks. And you can also bet there's only a 95% chance that Donald Trump will be inaugurated as president on January 20th. So there's a 5% chance that you can bet 5% chance that he will not be inaugurated on January 20th. Would you take either of those bets?
So I don't know why any player has an incentive to have a nuclear war, because I look at the Russians. The Ukrainians used to have a nuclear supply. They don't have it anymore. The French and the English have a couple nukes. They've got like 5 or 6. The Russians and the Americans, we both have like 300 to 600 to thousands. We had way more in the Cold War and we got rid of them. But I'm imagining this. The Russians don't want a war with the West because they would lose, and they've killed off so many of their men in Ukraine. The West European governments seem the ones pushing for this, and my best guess is because they understand that their hold on power is tentative at best. And I could see the Democrats supporting it because war allows you to do whatever you want. So if they start a war, they can say, oh, we can't let Trump get into power because there's a national disaster. I don't know if that's going to be the case, but that looks to me to be the underlying logic. And if there's a war, they can go out and say, hey, man, we're just doing what we have to do. My thinking is that this would horribly backfire. And if they do start a war, the Republicans tell them no. And then I just can't see the Republicans saying yes to a war like this. And if that happens, then you have a civil war. It would backfire. But desperate. So I think no one's desperate enough to have a nuclear war, and they don't benefit from that. But people are desperate enough to have a smaller scale war.
Yeah. And what does, a civil war in the United States, say it happens in 2 years from now, what does that look like?
The right would win.
But what does it actually look like on a, do the states just straight split up red blue? Is it geographical? Because obviously it's kind of a mix.
It has to be geographical, that's just how wars work. And so state lines aren't strong enough because you have places like, I'm from Pennsylvania. The middle of the state's not going to make a choice that Philly or Pittsburgh make. They're just not going to go along with that. You look at Illinois or New York. There's enough blue-red state. There's enough blue states with huge red interiors that they're not going to go with the blue states. So I think it would break down on a more regional. I think some states would go purely red or blue. Some would be mixed, and the best parallel I've seen is the French Revolution, and I've been studying the French Revolution really closely. And one of the really fascinating things about it is there's no tipping point where it happens. The French Revolution was a gradualistic enough event that 5 years in, for those that don't know, the French Revolution was caused by, the French government getting into enough debt it could never pay it off. And due to that, the King of France had to go to the Parliament to ask them for some money, and the Parliament told him to go to hell and said the only way they'd pay taxes is if France became a constitutional monarchy. And then the Parliament took over power, and it was a gradual process where the king lost power. But for the next 5 years, the king was still there in name, even though this progressively more left-wing and deranged Parliament were the ones who were really calling the shots. And that's how I would see things. I frankly don't think the left can put up a fight. I think they lack the young men to do that. And so I think the right would win, and they'd try to maintain some semblance of legality to cover up for the naked power grab.
Yeah. And would it be like civilians against the military? Like, would it be civilian against civilian? Because it seems like to me, when I think about like a civil war, it would be like the left would use the military, even though my feeling is that most people in the military are probably on the right. But I feel like they would they just wouldn't have the capabilities, whereas, civilians on the right could probably fight.
Yeah. I think that beforehand I put an 80% chance the right wins a civil war. After the election, I make it much higher. I think at this point very little way the right could lose a civil war. And I know that saying that kind of thing is jinxing, but the election was important because it gives the right, the legal in the position in the right for the next 4 years. Everything the left would do past this point, if they want to have a war, would be illegal. And that means that the military, which tilts right just demographically, that they would go conservative because the conservatives would have the legal, they would be in the right. And the US military tilts conservative, but it's also loyal to the law, which is good. And so when you look at the French Revolution, it was a French and the Russian revolutions. The reason the revolution worked is that the lower ranks of the officers were sympathetic to the rebels, where in the French and the Russian revolutions, the sergeants and the lieutenants and stuff, they sided with the rebels, and the upper brass of the military sided with the established regime. And it's the same way in our military, where the lower ranks of the military are sympathetic to the right. Then you have political appointments like admirals and stuff, and generals who are leftist. So I think if there's some kind of conflict, the top brass of the leadership would make a decision, and then just the rest of the military would mutiny.
Yeah, that seems probably how it would go. Speaking of Russia, you said in one of your videos, I think it was one of your videos, maybe on Twitter, but you basically said Russia won't survive the next 10 years.
Yeah.
What is that like? What do you mean by that in terms of survive? Like, is that just they're gonna reorganize completely, or they're gonna completely like collapse economically?
Aging's the great question of our time. If you were to summarize this era of history in one thing, it would be chart go up, chart go down. Because the 20th century is chart go up, 21st century is chart go down. And oftentimes the greatest wisdom is hidden inside incredibly simplistic, stupid statements, where every single thing in the 20th century is predicated upon the chart going up. We loved progress. We loved it's this easy times allow softer moral codes. And I see that in the feminization of society. And now we're at this horrible moment when the chart goes down, and we have to figure out how the chart's going to go down. And I went on that tangent because Peter Zeihan's done a good job of looking at the countries where the chart goes down the fastest. And it's Russia and China and the former communist countries. I think because communism burns through just social life more than any other ideology. I think communism is really disastrous to a culture. And so Russia and China basically can't sustain themselves for 20 years from now. And the question when I look at that chart is, what does that mean? Because I know they're not going to be a good place. I just don't know exactly how. And my best guess is some type of coup and warlordism, because there's nothing to really stopping that. We think governments are stronger than they are, but they're held together often by the myth of government more than anything else.
Right. So you're just saying we kind of just assume that they'll kind of keep it together, but it could crumble very easily.
Yeah,
It's almost like the bankruptcy thing. It happens very slowly and then all at once.
Yeah.
That famous saying. And so are you really concerned about population decline in general?
I am, but I
here,
don't want...
Here and in the rest of the world?
Yeah, so it's the biggest issue in the world today. That's what I'm going to say. I think Elon's right there. I don't think there's much we can do about it. I once paid a researcher to look up the variables that result in population decline, and he said it has to be a rural religious society. And that's basically no industrialized country in the world. Nowhere in the world is a stable birth rate. And Africa is the only exception, and they're going down faster than the fastest computer models. So we make computer models, and they have really wide standard deviations, and in every country, the population's crashing faster than the most extreme computer model. And that's really, really scary. And I frankly don't think there's much we can do about it. I think the people who are going to have kids will have kids, and then the system's going to naturally reset. But I think any social engineering never works in this regard, where in Hungary they've put, I think, nearly 10% of their budget into this, and they've had no effects. This has been, people have tried to have effect to control the birth rate, and it never works. And so my attitude is, I think this is going to be painful, but it's one of those things that's going to fix itself.
What did they do in Hungary?
So in Hungary and a couple other countries, they're basically paying people large amounts of money to have children, where I think once you have more than 4 kids, you pay no income tax. And it really hasn't had that much of an effect, which is surprising, but I believe it to be mostly like a rural urban split because I grew up in a rural area and like everyone had kids and it had a sustainable birth rate. And in the rural societies, you just let the kids play outside. And when you're in the city, like you live in New York, where like an apartment the size of a horse stall is like 7K in New York.
Yes.
And so of course you're not going to have kids.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And so there's like, what about through immigration? Like, can it, obviously not everybody can do, not every country can do this because there's obviously a hierarchy and winners and losers, but can some countries use like an immigration policy to kind of offset it?
I guess to a certain degree, but at the same time, the end come of that logic is getting rid of your own country because you
Right.
have to increase immigration exponentially as your population goes down. And also, after a generation, immigrants assort back to the old population's birth rate. And this is one of the things that lots of people who think about the Muslims taking over Europe don't factor, that after a single generation, Muslims have the same birth rate as the native Europeans.
And what's the explanation for that? The low birth rate?
Oh,
Is it
it's
just comfort?
It's just cities. People don't breed if they're not religious and they don't have cities. And they're in cities. So a lot of people like to say that the current demographic issues are only hitting white people, but that's not even remotely true, where it's hitting Asia the hardest, China and Japan and Korea. And I've looked to those societies to figure out what the West might be in the future because I saw the NEETs and I saw the 4Bs and I saw like the really, really low birth rate. And I thought that, yeah, that's going to be us if we can't fix stuff. And even in the Middle East, almost no countries in the Middle East, barring like Saudi Arabia and Israel, have sustainable birth rates. It's ironic. Anglo-Americans stabilize at one of the highest birth rates in the world once they hit the bottom because America is such a suburban country that you can afford to have more kids, where even in Europe or in much poorer countries like Thailand or Iran, they stabilize at lower birth rates than Americans because they're still living in apartments.
Right. So then I guess because China famously had the one-child policy, are you
Yeah.
kind of saying that even if they had not had that, they'd still kind of be in trouble?
Oh, yeah. So you can look to other parallel societies like Taiwan, and because you have a term called the Cynic nations or the Confucian nations in the same way you have the West, where like I would look to Germany or England as parallels to what happens in America. You can judge them in comparison because they're close enough. For China, their societies you can judge them with are Japan, Taiwan, Japan, Taiwan, and Korea. And they all have the lowest birth rates in the world. The one-child policy, ironically, didn't have that much effect on Chinese demographics, which is nuts to think.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because I always would
Yeah.
assume that you're like, oh, that was this disastrous policy. And then you're kind of saying like, no, they would have been screwed
Yeah,
regardless.
let's compare China and Taiwan's birth rate. I think Taiwan actually has a lower because China and Taiwan they're like America and Canada.
They're like
Taiwan birth rate
pretty
versus
similar.
holy crap, Taiwan's the lowest in the world. Yeah, I thought South Korea was the lowest, but Taiwan just hit a new low.
Wow. That's not good. It's
Yeah.
not good at all. What effect is the like invention of the like when you plot the kind of like wide scale adoption of the internet over this?
Yeah. So
Like, does it kind of line up a bit?
the internet lines up really closely with male virginity, which is why I say that the dating issues are mostly economically downstream of dating apps, where like 60% of people meet through the internet now, and Tinder would be the second most unequal country in the world if it was a country. It would be behind South Africa and ahead of Venezuela. It's funny the two most unequal countries in the world are socialist. But so if you look at male virginity stats, 18 to 30, it jumps from 8% in 2008 to something like 27% recently. And I'm assuming those numbers are undercounts because guys be lying about this.
Sure.
And like there's no way those
guys
stats
be
are
lying.
true. Yes, exactly. And so I think the internet really hurt people for just meeting each other. But I would imagine, I mean, have you watched my Mouse Utopia video?
I have not seen it, no.
Oh, you should. It's one of my best videos. I stand by that video. It's like one of, in Wikipedia, when you click the first link in every single article, it will always ultimately lead you back to the article for philosophy.
Right.
So
Sure.
for my Mouse Utopia video, all my other videos kind of converge onto it.
And what's the premise of the video?
God. You don't want to know, but I'll tell you.
Let's hear it, man. I'm on full doomer right now.
You should grab a drink. But Mouse Utopia was an experiment they ran about 30 times in the late 60s and the early 70s when they were noticeably worried about population rise. Where there was a movie called Soylent Green made in 1971, and it was set in 2021, I think, something like that. And in this movie, America had 300 million people, and New York had 40 million people, and there was mass famine in the street, and the value of human life is so low that people consume human flesh, and the wealthy keep prostitutes as furniture. It's funny to see 1970 look at our current population and think it would be this complete overpopulated dystopian hellscape. But I'm thankful to the Green Revolution. But that notwithstanding, they were terrified of population growth in the early 70s. And so they made this experiment for what the social effects of rapid population growth is. So they would put 9 mice into a cage that could hold 6,000 mice, and they'd give them perfect conditions, infinite food, perfect climate, no disease. Every single experiment, as I said before, they ran this out 30 times. The mouse colony would reach up 2,000, with the tipping point being the total being 6,000. And each time this happened, the mice lost the will to breed. There were male autistic mice who couldn't socialize. The women became dominant and masculine, and they refused to deal with men. There were sociopathic thug mice who would beat up other mice for no reason. There were homeless mice who would wander around the colony and get attacked. And each time, their birth rate collapsed to 0, and the mouse colony failed.
Every time at 2,000?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, like around that number.
Yeah.
And are you kind of positing that we're past the 2,000 point?
I like to jokingly say that I don't know about climate change. I don't know if it's real. It could be real. It could not. But Miami is still above water. Denmark is still above water. Every single thing in Mouse Utopia has already happened. The birth rate collapse, the aggressive masculine women, the effeminate male mice, the just anything you throw a dart at with Mouse Utopia has already happened. We live in the Mouse Utopia timeline.
God damn it. That's not good. That's not good, Rudyard. No, it's all good, man. I mean, you know what? I do say, because I think it is one of the, it is a telltale sign right now of like a fake smart person, like a stupid smart person, because they'll always say population growth is the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like someone will be like, who will want to appear smart, will be like, there's too many people. They'll always say that, like people who go, like a fake intellectual will be like, yeah, we really got to get a handle on this pop. And I'm very much like, no, it's the opposite of that. Like we need more people. Now, obviously there must be some, I know we're nowhere near like some sort of max population of this planet. Like, you live in, you're in rural Pennsylvania. Like you go from New York, drive from New York to Philly, like most of it is just empty. Right,
yes.
Like you could. I think they said something like you could fit all the people in the world like side by side in like I don't know one state or something. Like all the people in the whole world. Like if you're building up and there's tons of room. But anyways, I always thought because I know a lot of like in comedy, a lot of like leftists and stuff, and they're always just like there's way too many people. I'm just like no. There's not enough people.
As I said, chart go up, chart go down. We're in the chart go down phase. I think you're going to bring on another guest, but
No, we got some callers. No more guests, but we have some callers.
Based. Okay, great.
Yeah, we got some callers. Phone lines are open, by the way, 1-888-949-2969 if you want to talk to Rodyard. But go ahead.
So, the population's going to go down. That's basically a fact now. And my attitude is, what do you do with that? Because once you accept your limitations, you can figure out how to play with them. And like, I read a sci-fi novel where America, it's actually a really interesting book. It's in the book, and I'm leaving out a lot of context, the world's population goes from 10 billion to 1 billion over the 21st century. And that's due to a combination, this book was written in the 90s, due to a combination of genetically engineered plagues, supply chain issues, and America falls into a civil war where the Republican Party becomes run by self-sufficient associations of rednecks who live away from the city's degeneracy, and the Democrats become controlled by ethnic minority, basically inner city gangs. And then there's a civil war between them, and they turn New York City into a redwood preserve. And it's crazy to imagine a world like that. Yeah, somehow Baltimore becomes the biggest city of the East Coast, and New York City is just like an oak and a redwood reserve where you look at the ruins. And when you look at because the numbers are going down really fast, and you look at what is the world on the other side of that, and it has to be a historic event. I don't know what to say. I mean, like, look at the world wars. The world before and after is different, and we have the privilege of living through it.
Privilege. We're privileged to live through it. I mean, people really don't get, like, people talk a lot about, like, the population, but, like, you don't get, like, the economic pain that goes along with declining, like, this whole, like, I've said it before, but, like, this whole economy is literally like kind of miniature Ponzi scheme.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Where it's like the whole point of it, the way it's set up is it requires more people. And when you start like there's no models that model in, like when they factor in, GDP growth and interest, like none of that factors in less people. It's more people. Like housing prices, there's a reason why housing prices go in one direction. Right? Like, I don't know what percentage of Americans, their entire savings are in their home. And like, nobody talks about like, well, what happens if your home when you're retired is worth like a quarter of what it's worth right now because there's way less people and there's way more houses.
I say privilege because it's such an enormous historic event that you can determine what comes out of it. Because history is controlled by certain tipping points and not all of time is equal. There are certain historic moments, and this historic moment will determine what happens centuries later.
Yeah. All right. Let's take some calls here because there's a lot of people who would like to speak with you. First up, we have Adam. Adam, are you there?
Yeah. What's up?
How's it going? You are on with Rodyard. Hey, what's up?
Hola.
Hey guys, good evening. Yo, I just want to say, to Rudy, big fan of your channels. I've been watching History 102 quite a bit recently. I actually turned my girlfriend onto it. We watched the Vikings episode.
Nice.
Big fan. Yeah. Quick question. Have you ever played the video game series Crusader Kings?
Yeah.
And if so, would you ever do like a let's play, like a stream of it? Because it's what brought me into medieval history. So I was curious if you would ever play that as like a live stream or whatever. Just talk about it. And
I have played it before. I wouldn't play it live because I suck at it. It would be embarrassing if I played it. That game. So how do you learn to play that game? Because I've tried to. So one of the problems I run into is like people enjoy having their work be the opposite of their leisure. And I would play like 4 hours of strategy games as a teenager because I hated school and I felt like I was being underthinking in school. And as an adult, I played a lot less video games because my job required that I make decisions and think strategically. And so for now, my hobbies are I prefer to basically just do the most lowest intensity things possible. But I think Crusader Kings is a good game. It's just I don't have the mental brain power to play it now.
Oh, yeah. No, it's a lot, especially you got so much going on. Okay, cool. I was curious. That's really all I got. Big fan. Keep it up. Love History 102. Can't wait for what you got coming. Take care, guys.
I'm honored.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
All right. Let's we got a lot of callers. So we are going to go next up to friend of the show, Rube Star. Interesting character. Rube! What's up, man?
Danny, this guy's brilliant.
I know. That's why I brought him on. Are you scared, Rube?
No, I'd love to know his birthday, though.
What, so you can find my social security number?
No, he's a bit of an amateur astrologer. He does this with everybody.
Okay, so it's publicly out on like a celebrity birthday website, but June 23rd, 2001.
2001. Wow, you're really young.
Yeah. It's the Battle of Plassey.
Could you... this might be a stupid question. Is Russia a communist country?
They used to be, but they're not anymore. They've devolved onto basically being a klepto. So Aristotle talked about aristocracy, or rule by the best, and then there's rule by the worst, or kleptocracy. And what happened in Russia is they don't have an ideology anymore. They only... Yeah, the secret police hollowed out the rest of the society during the Soviet period, and Putin and his former secret police, they don't really have an ideology anymore. They're not communist anymore. They're more like Mexico, because you go down to Mexico and basically the corrupt rich have been able to use the society to push their self-interest.
Well, it certainly seems like everybody, and I mean by that the media, thinks they're communist. And I was just wondering if you could explain a little bit more why you think they would fall apart within 10 years, or whatever word you used.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to push back on the nukes.
So our ruling class are boomers, and the boomers have this visceral hatred of Russia due to the Cold War, and it's why they went for Russiagate in 2016, because they knew their core demographic would just go crazy with the idea of Russian collusion. So it's partly that. It's also projection, because our ruling class are communists, and everything the left says is projection. Balaji is a very interesting point, that back in the Cold War, America was the most right-wing great power, and the Soviets were the most left-wing. Now it's flipped. America is the left-wing woke power, and the Russians are they're more socially conservative, but they don't really have an ideology. And I'm sorry, I forgot your second question.
He wanted to push back on the nukes.
Oh, okay, yeah, go ahead.
But why would they fall apart within 10 years? Because they don't have an ideology?
Because of demographics, just because they're... go ahead, Roger.
History happens quick, and then history moves slowly, and then it happens quick. So Austro-Hungary was this empire in Central Europe that encompassed 12 different...
People.
Okay, great. You're Jewish. I could see from your name. But
I don't think Rube's not Jewish.
Isn't Ruben a Jewish name?
No, my dad.
Like
my dad is.
Ruben is a Jewish name. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. No, I'm Hungarian. My dad's Jewish, but I'm not.
I apologize.
Well, there you go. Well, your dad's Jewish, so close enough.
So.
No, I got zero Jew, Danny. Zero Jew. Name only. Name only.
So.
But anyways.
Yes, I'll answer your question. With the reason I think Russia is going to fall apart is you look at historic events, and then they build up, click, and it happens overnight. Austro-Hungary held together for centuries. Slight imperceptible changes meant that Austro-Hungary fell apart in a matter of weeks when World War I ended. And so for Russia, I see two different things. The first is that there's no idea of what being Russian means anymore, because this is actually one of the worst things the communists did, is that their identity was really built up in being Christian. If you asked a Russian peasant beforehand, they'd say, oh, I follow the church, and then I'm a Russian. And getting rid of Christianity killed Russia's social capital, so they have no idea to unify around. And also it's the demographic situation, where Russia has Russia has some of the worst demographics of any country in the world, and it's not being helped by them killing so many of their young men in this last war. I thought that Ukraine war is a travesty because you're taking two of the countries with the worst aging in the world, and you killed their young men, and oftentimes the bravest and like the most virile and like the highest quality young men is they're the ones who die in war.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't think the Ukraine war. Yeah, I don't think the Ukraine war is real. But also,
What?
have you ever heard that nuke? Yeah, that's completely propaganda.
This is a new one, Rube. What, you think it's just a TV show?
Oh yeah, completely. You know, and not at first, but then once I found out they were using video game footage, I started really paying attention.
That was like
Danny,
the first week. That was like some troll of the first week of the war.
There's so much BS, and I got a Russian friend, Philip Druzinin, Advanced Mudflood Research, and he sends me all these videos of these battles. And I'm like, nope, dude, that could be staged. There's not
wait,
one
wait,
that's
wait.
100%
You see a video and you go,
And
that
you
could
look
be
at what's
staged, therefore the war is fake?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he hasn't convinced me. I have not been convinced.
All right.
I'm
And
not going to
also,
honor that.
look-
That's stupid. That's just objectively stupid.
Now, hold up.
I don't know what to tell you.
Now, hold up. You look at the footage of the damage we get in Gaza. That's real. There's plenty of that actually happening all over there, and we're getting real footage of that. I don't get the same footage on my news from the Ukraine war.
I mean,
And
there's
it's
tons of
been
footage.
going
What do you
on
mean?
longer.
I've seen tons of footage.
Okay. What evidence would you need to see to change your mind?
I think I got to go there.
Go, man. I think you can go. I think you can go to Ukraine right now if you want. There's some hot ladies who are looking for a way out.
I also, this is going to sound just as absurd, but I'm a big fan of Eric Dubay, and he's got a video on how that nukes aren't real. And if you go back and look at all the early footage of the bombs that they're exploding, and you look at it now, and they're using miniatures, it's clearly fake. You look at Nagasaki and Hiroshima, there's no real ground zero. There's still buildings standing. And isn't it supposed to be like a half-life of 1,000 years before? But both those cities repopulated and are thriving, as far as I know today. And there has not been any real new. Nobody's done a nuke since Hiroshima or Nagasaki.
Well, there's been a nuclear test in
There's not
2017. North Korea did one.
Okay.
Okay, a majority of the energy in Hungary and France are powered off nuclear. Those countries can't exist without nuclear energy.
I'm not saying nuclear energy isn't real. The bomb. I'm talking about a bomb. There's a guy that tours, his name's escaping me now, and he actually eats uranium in front of people.
So
He used to. Go ahead.
I apologize for interjecting, but
Please
we do
interject.
know that nuclear radiation has significantly better effects than people think. Where, for example, Chernobyl is one of the most biodiverse places in Europe. I think they have like the European lynx now, and they have other species like the brown bear that are extinct in the rest of Europe. So, for example, if we had a nuclear war in 1985, most of the U.S. would be fine now. You could go back to New York and rebuild it as a city now because the effects of nuclear radiation aren't as bad as people think. And we think
Yeah,
now
is it
that
Fukushima like all settled now as well?
wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I've heard people say that if there's a nuclear war, about 300 million people around the world would die, which this is a horrifying thing to say. That's not a very high number because if you go back to a lot of historic wars, I mean, the 30 Years' War killed a third of Germany's population.
Yeah, that's only 5% of the world.
Yeah. The Punic Wars killed a majority of Rome's upper class. So wars can kill a lot of people. The only two countries in the world capable of destroying industrial civilization with nukes are Russia and America. The problem is that Russia is so weak, it can't. Nukes aren't going to push it over into being a great power, and America is so strong that the world's kind of our bitch, and we don't have an incentive to bomb it. And if there was a nuclear war in China and America, China's got 30 nukes total. And America built, I find this hilarious. Boomers are amazing sometimes. America has
Yeah,
this
but
nuclear
there are no nukes.
Okay,
Telling
let
you,
me-
it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
big,
I'm not going to honor this.
it's
This
a
is
big
stupid.
bluff.
So
It's a
Okay.
big bluff.
Okay, I can let you go. Actually,
big bluff.
Rube, because
I need to talk
some more
about
calls.
THAAD. So
Yeah, go ahead. Go
THAAD
finish your thought.
Is the THAAD is the American missile defense program that shoots nukes out of the sky. And I thought some boomer invented the system and called it THAAD, which is what like schizos on 4chan call an ultimate Chad.
Sure. All right. Well, Rube doesn't believe the nukes even exist. Is it interesting that his name is Rube?
Yeah, it's got to be a troll.
Do with it. No, that is his real name. I can confirm it. All right, let's take another call. If you're on the line, hang on. We will do our best to get to you. Next up, we have from where I don't know. Hello, you're on Low Value Mail. Who am I speaking with?
Hey, this is Bryce.
Bryce, what's up, man?
Hey, I had a question for Rudyard. So, I saw recently, you were talking earlier about birth rates and fertility rates are kind of low throughout the world. I saw a graph recently showing basically in America, it is only really the middle of the country that's having kids. And I predict that maybe in the next, 10, 20 years, the cultural influence of the coasts are going to be a lot more diminished. And I predict that you're going to see a resurgence of sort of the traditional American ethos, like in the middle of the country. I mean, you have all these guys moving, like Joe Rogan and Elon Musk, all these people going from California to Texas. I live in Arkansas. Arkansas is booming. You just see a lot of states in the middle of the country growing. And I wonder, do you have any hope for America in the heart of the country? And what do you predict will happen to the coasts?
Yeah.
Interesting theory.
I'm more optimistic on America than any other industrialized country, and I'm more optimistic on the middle of America than the coast. I mean, I like to say the left is trying to lose. Every single thing the left does is pushing for their own cultural suicide. And so
Right.
they're going to lose because they want to. And I see America as, because America alternates its most important region for leadership. We're moving out of the era when it was the coasts. Before then, it was the Rust Belt. And now I think our new cultural leadership is going to come from the Gulf of Mexico, because I live in Texas now. I'm super bullish on Texas. Florida's doing well. North Carolina, those states are doing well. It wouldn't surprise me.
Trump won Florida by like 14 points or 15 points or something insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous how fast these states are growing. So I think, I think that the new area that's going to do well is the Gulf of Mexico. I think that the middle of the country, like the plains, will gradually increase in influence, and then like a century, it might be the new most important region of America.
Right. Yeah, I predict the same thing. And I think if people on the right, I think at America's heart, I would think America broadly is center right. And I think if people on the right can prevent their kids from being, to protect them from the predations of left-wing ideology, it's simple math. In a few years, they'll be outbred and have no cultural influence.
Go ahead.
I apologize for interjecting, but there's a very important point I left out, that among educated people, religious people have more kids than non-religious people. And that's most pronounced among the educated. So basically, on a demographic basis, the only educated people who have children are the religious. And class is fairly heritable. And so what that means is that the next generation of the people who are going to be the new leading class are all going to be descended from religious people in a generation or two.
Yeah. And also, to the caller's point, like the coastal states are the worst governed and probably have lower birth rates. So it's like you're incentivizing people to leave, and you're not replacing them at the rates that probably they're getting replaced at in the middle of the country.
And the people that do leave are like the most kind of right-leaning of those areas, right? They're not like, really far right wing, but like in Arkansas, for example, the kind of people coming here, we've had tons of people from California and from the West come, but they're like normal people. So
yeah,
it's like,
and I mean, all those places were settled due to proximity to the water, essentially. And you're like, does that even matter anymore at this point?
Right. Exactly.
Like, exactly. New York was settled because of its geography. Like, does that matter that you're so close to the water now?
Yeah,
like
I think COVID kind of woke people up, and they're like, "Why am I living here?"
I mean, I ask myself that every fucking day.
Danny, you should
Why'd
take
you
the
move,
Texas
man?
bill.
It's
Move
not
to
that
Texas.
easy. Well, the problem is with I like Texas, actually. I got no beef with Texas. The problem is that I mean, I know why I live here because of comedy, and New York City is still the best comedy city in the world, and so for the current makeup of comedy, it's just like it is the place to be. It's hard
Have you heard of the Mothership?
Of course, I know, but the thing is like it's still like this is a discussion that me and other comedians have on a regular basis. Like it's a very common topic, but still at the end of the day, everybody does agree. Like to be the best comedian, you still have to be in New York City. Now that could change because LA was considered that for a long time, and now people don't even think about LA comedy wise. Like people are like, I don't know what's going on over there. It's not really significant to what's going on in comedy, period. Whereas that was not even the case 10 years ago. Like it was, it was such a hotspot. So
New York could change and ICB could hit it, and
well, then I'll be dead. So
would be gone.
Yeah, I'll be gone. Yep, I'll be gone.
But anyway, that was my question, Rudyard. So thanks for answering it.
Good question. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
All right, let's take another call. We're going to try and get to these in order. Stick on the line, and we will get to you. One moment, please. We have got... Hello! You're on Low Value Mail. Who am I speaking with?
What's going on, guys?
Yeah.
Going gun guy. I'm back when the shooting happened.
What's that?
How's it going, guys?
Good. How are you?
I'm the gun guy from back when you were talking about Trump getting shot.
Oh, okay, cool.
Ballistic drop.
Gotcha. What's up, man?
So I'm glad to have fucking Rodyard on the line. I was wondering, what is your position on declining energy return on energy investment, Rodyard?
You mean oil?
I mean, the fuel that makes everything happen. Yeah, you could say oil, you could say natural gas, you could say literally how much effort goes into the acquisition of that which you need to run your modern civilization.
I don't have a good answer to that question. I said I don't have a good answer to that question. I'm honest. I haven't studied this field that much.
Well, you've studied a lot of history. So if you look at the collapse of Rome, what ultimately ended up happening was because of their aqueducts, they ended up salting the earth. And then they had to spend all their Spanish silver to acquire more fuel for their armies. And then if you look at the collapse of France, you'll see that they lost their wheat again. So again, you had this civil strife. So it seems that history is always preceded by these energetic collapses, which is very, very well evidenced if you look into the works by Howard T. Odom or Dr. Charles Hall or M. King Hubbard, which have storied what is going to happen in our civilization, as I pointed out many times in your comment section, and you repeatedly ignored. I was just wondering if you would...
Probably has 10,000 comments on a video.
Yeah, I get like 1,000 comments a day, dude. It's not personal. I mean, this is the Vaclav-Smil theory.
Okay. Now you have a direct audio line to that explicit question. So
sure. Let him answer.
This is the Vaclav-Smil theory of history. That basically history is all energy, and yeah, I mean, the thing with oil is it's predicated more so off technological advances, and we're really bad at predicting the future of energy costs because you'll get exponential. Let me finish the point.
Just let him finish the question.
We have exponential increases periodically due to technology, and that's pretty difficult to predict because
2018.
I'm not going to answer the question if you interrupt me.
I'm just going to remove him. Just if you want to answer his question. Guys, if you're calling in, just let him answer. I don't have a good way to mute people, unfortunately, because it's through Zoom. So that's just what we got to do. But if you want to answer the question, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to say that energy relates more so to technological advances, and technological advances are really difficult to predict. Like, I think there was a British author in 1800 called Malthus who said that the future of the world would be overpopulation. And because he said population increases faster than our ability to get energy. And that was right for all of history until the period he said that, because he was writing at the exact same time as the Industrial Revolution. I feel bad for Malthus because he did all the math right and he was just objectively wrong. And there was no way he could have predicted it, but he was still wrong.
Hey, I mean, predictions are hard, famously. Yeah. It is difficult. All right, let's take another call here. If you're on the line, hang on. We will get to you. And let Roger fucking answer your goddamn questions. Hello.
Hey, what's up? Y'all hear me?
Yo.
Hey, what's going on? Hey, I'd like to thank the guests first for pointing out how the Jewish Bolsheviks demoralized the spirit of the simple serf Russian. I mean, people want to complain about 6 million, but they don't want to talk about the 20 million. From their end. But, yeah, dude, I think that's a very important thing that people need to hear about, how Jewish Bolshevism and the demonization of their Christendom literally was basically a setup to predicate turning, Russia into a boogeyman. It is very awesome, like dreidel magic. But yeah, it really is, and it kind of like there is a resurgence of Christendom in Russia. I mean, yes, Russia has its problems like mass divorce rates, mass abortion rates, lots of people who wear crosses but they still don't attend church, yada yada. I'm not saying like I'm not for like ritualistic practices, but yeah, it's a good way of codifying. I mean, dude, honestly, it's awesome that Russia chose Christianity over Islam, and one of the deciding factors was one of the Tsars was like, "Oh, we can't drink vodka if we, kneel on carpets." Yeah, we gonna be.
Was that the reasoning?
No. There was many reasons, but one of the main particular reasons that Russia chose to accept the word of the gospel was because that faggot Muhammad didn't want them drinking. And,
sure. Do you have a question, Slav?
Yeah. So my question is about the nukes and stuff. I mean, I don't even have to ask about my great replacement reality questions. He can already guess what I'm about to say that. But no, what is it? So my thing with the nukes is primarily the Samson option and Tel Aviv. Is the guest familiar with the Samson option?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that, and also, are you familiar
tell people who don't know what the Samson option is?
Answer the fucking question. Apologies.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't. I don't know. He's just meandering for this question. What's the question, Slav?
Yeah. What is it? So he's.
You're just saying what we all think, Rodyard.
Yeah. What is it? So with the nukes thing is, I think Israel is the only actual nuclear threat to the world because of the Samson option. And one of the things that gets majorly overlooked is when Israel, because they operate under nuclear ambiguity, one of the things they wanted to propose that was to the European Union was
I can answer your question.
Okay. Yeah, okay, Slav, let him. Okay. Yeah, Slav, let him talk.
The answer is no. Israel's not the greatest nuclear threat to America. They have no incentive to do so. They don't have the nuclear payload. I think they've got less than 20 nukes total. I don't think they use ICBMs. I think their entire nuclear launch region, I don't think they have a transcontinental payload ability, and they have zero incentive to nuke the world.
Okay, so what I wanted to mention was one thing that gets overlooked and not frequently mentioned enough was, this is public record, Tel Aviv was denied by the EU and the UN and whatever that regulatory agency concerning nuclear material is, because they suggested they wanted to install their own nuclear weapons in European cities under the guise of, if we can't launch our own, you guys can launch them on our own behalf. The only problem is that it was in two stages. One, they would send the nuclear warheads, put them in those European cities. I'm talking the major ones, everywhere from Madrid to Paris to London, Berlin, Milan, Rome, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
so
we know cities.
All them.
Come on.
Yeah, those. And then the second stage would be, okay, and then stage one is we give you the warheads, we implant them there. And then stage two is we'll send you the rocket delivery missile systems in stage two. They publicly and globally got called out for it. It was major news, printed in newspapers, and then somehow got swept away under the rug. I read about this and learned about it in middle school.
You learned about this in middle school? What fucking middle school did you go to where you learned about this?
Danny, every historical fact you've ever heard me mention on both of your call-in shows is everything I knew and learned and read about in middle school. And
but like your middle school taught you this, or you were like on the internet while you were in middle school?
Dude.
Dude,
they told us to go volunteer. I volunteered at a library.
Oh, okay.
What do you think?
This makes sense.
Yeah.
This makes sense for the Slav backstory here.
Dude, all of my peers in K through 12 were watching Disney Channel and Nickelodeon. I was watching Hitler documentaries on fucking History Channel.
Yeah.
Your point is heard loud and clear.
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
It makes sense. Slav, I gotta let you go, man. We got a lot of callers, but Slav, everybody calls in pretty wasted every week.
All of your listeners are Southerners.
Not all of them. They come from. We had one from earlier who's calling in from Seattle. Actually, you know what? Producer Mark wants to ask a question.
Sure.
So
I will get going in 10 minutes.
Yeah, you got 10 more minutes? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get to as many questions as we can. Thank you again for coming on. I appreciate it.
Of course, bullet points, please.
Yeah. It's mostly Slav with the long ones. Let's unmute Mark here. One moment, please. Come on, Mark. No, he's not doing it. Here we go. Mark, you there? Yeah, go ahead, Mark. Yeah.
Right on.
Cool. You got to keep it quick, though.
Very quick. All right. I was recently listening to an episode of Tinfoil Hat, and they were talking about how the Fourth Reich, a.k.a. the Nazis, didn't lose the war and have continued. What do you think about the breakaway Nazi civilization theory? Do you think there's anything legitimate?
No. Next.
All right. All right. There we go. All right. Next up, we'll get to as many as we can of these. Please be patient, people. One moment, please. Hello. You're on Low Value Mail.
Hello.
Hey.
All right. Rodyard. I'm from Ohio. I'm in the same kind of like area that you're from, Rust Belt kind of area. Very mixed values in people. I'm very a lot of urban and very rural areas.
Yeah.
My question is, my issues in every election, going back to Trump's first election, was war. I turned 18 in 2005, so I was very worried about going to Iraq. and that blew over. But like coming into Trump's election with Hillary saying she wanted a no-fly zone over Syria, I was very, very worried about that, and that made me skew towards Trump. And I do not know how to talk to any of my friends about they're very liberal and want to talk about like their main issues are the social issues, and the main thing I focus on is like the geopolitical issues like war, and that's what skewed me towards Trump. And I don't know how to get them on my side on those, or at least have them make that a main issue.
Leftists aren't going to change their mind. You can change the minds of moderates, but you have to remember politics is basically a religion for people, and you can only help people who want to be helped. And it's like asking someone to stop being Catholic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's like.
Yeah. I mean, there's a very small sliver of people who are like willing to change their mind. I bet it's probably sub 10%, which is probably why elections like swing back and forth. It's just like it's that sliver of people who are basically able to move back and forth. Besides that, it's.
But it's so frustrating seeing like we've all seen the horrific images coming out of Ukraine. Like people will laugh at images of people getting grenades dropped on them and just like, yeah, well, that guy deserved it. And that, to me, that's just horrific. But all people want to talk about is the abortion issue. And that's a hard one to get into because to me, it's very nuanced.
Yeah. I mean, the abortion issue is like people talk about it. It doesn't even affect them. Like, you know how many like New York people I know who are like worried about abortions? You're like, this literally doesn't affect you at all. You have not lost your ability to get an abortion, but it's still their number one issue. So, anything out there, Rudyard?
Oh, I was going to say abortion's so strong. It's such a big thing for people because it's symbolic for women, especially about how they should live their lives. Because it's basically the underlying question in abortion is, do women live lives for themselves or for reproduction? Because if abortion's legal, then it's that we're basically discarding the child for the mother. And if abortion's not legal, you're prioritizing the needs of the child over the mother.
Right. That's a good point. All right. Thanks, caller. All right. We're going to try and bang out a couple more calls and then we'll let you go there. Thanks again for coming on. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah. It was a enlightening episode to say the least.
I'm honored.
Besides a couple of the callers. But that's how it goes. We don't have call screeners on here by design. Hello.
Hello. This is Charlie Brook from northern Michigan, out of the middle
Charlie Brook, what's
Lake
up, man?
Michigan, Beaver Island. So I'm a caller from the north. I wanted to know if Mr. Ruggard has reviewed any of Jason Bashir's research that he has linked all over his archaics.com website and has tons of YouTube videos on regarding chronological history and patterns with mathematics from multiple sources, many sources. Ancient books, the Bible's one element of it, but Sumerian, Syrian records, Egyptian records, very fascinating stuff. And if you haven't reviewed it, which sounds like you haven't, I would recommend it if you have a time in your life to delve down that rabbit hole. He has a book called Chronicon. It's not really a book, it's a PDF. You can get it. It's about 1,000 pages long.
Whew.
And it gives you all of history chronologically laid out and how all the calendars parallel, like what year it is in the Mayan calendar and the Vedic calendars and the AD Annus Mundi calendar that the Masons use.
Yeah.
So it's very fascinating stuff, and the patterning of history is quite interesting.
Okay.
Cool.
Sounds good. Thank
He
you.
has a book called When the Sun Darkens. I'd recommend you start with that one because that lays out the real patterns when it comes to cataclysmic destructions, and it's mathematical.
Good.
Very
I'll
interesting.
throw this out. The
Yeah, go
Book of
ahead.
Revelation will not happen within our lifetimes. I am very confident that the world will not end and we will not have the Book of Revelation because people have thought it's going to happen like 12 times and it never does.
I mean, just
It-
based on a purely statistical, you're like, what are the odds in a universe, however or whatever, an Earth, however old you believe it to be, the odds that it just happens in the next 80 years, probably slim. All right, thank you, caller.
I'll take two more.
Two more. All right, two more calls. Two more calls. Let's hope these are good ones. We're really just rolling the dice on these. I don't know any of these people. Hello. You're on Low Value Mail. Who am I speaking with?
Hi, Dan. This is Forrest. Hi, Rudyard. I really got into your videos when I first heard in one of your videos you hiked the Appalachian Trail for a bit. That's real near and dear to my heart. And, I really appreciate there's other people out there who've done stuff like that. I did that in 2017. But I wanted to ask if there are negotiations when Trump comes in with Putin, what do you think is going to be a winning negotiation for Putin?
For what? What do we want from Putin?
Well, we want the war to be over.
Why? Why is it our problem?
Well, I think if we're giving, the left, their due, is like nobody really could have predicted Hitler, in my opinion, that well. At first, I would have been somebody who wanted to keep out of the war. And I don't think Putin is going to be Hitler. I don't think he is Hitler. But I do feel like there is always this possibility of what if there is a continued movement out, what if there are...
Why is that
real
America's
threats
problem,
of nuclear
though?
war?
Yeah, what Danny said.
Why is that not Europe's problem?
Oh, it totally should be more of Europe's problem than it is now because we're helping way too much. But, I think we do have a good say because we are, top dog, and we don't have to be over there. I don't want to be over there. I don't want us to be over involved in this since we are completely, on a different continent. But, I think it is a good consideration for us if, we do want this war to end. We do want people to stop dying. So I don't know. I feel like we would have to give up land. I feel like we would, have to keep NATO out. I don't know if we can do that ourselves, but
I divide the world.
Do you see this as not an option?
I divide the world into that which I'm responsible for and that which I'm not responsible for. And I don't worry about things that aren't my problem. And I don't see it. They're thousands of miles away from us. And they have no young men. They were a problem back in the Cold War, but they're not now.
Yeah. And theoretically, if something went the way where it looked like it was going to become our problem, then you go, okay, well, then we'll intervene at that point when it seems like that's a potential, I suppose. It doesn't seem like that's even on the table. That's anyways. That's my thought on it. All right, thanks, caller. All right, one last call. Rudyard, give me a number between 1 and 4.
3.
All right, you did this, man. This is your decision. Last call of the night. Let's see who we got. And then please unmute yourself. Here we go. Last call of the night. Hello, you're on Low Value Mail.
Hey, thanks for finally getting to me. I really enjoyed hearing the conversation. There's a lot of great stuff. So I want to kind of take it back to the beginning where you were talking about the rat utopia, because that's an idea I heard a while ago, but you really refreshed my memory on it. It's like, oh, shoot, that actually happened. I guess, And one thing I want to ask about, in the experiment you proposed, you didn't talk about, there wasn't an analog for this, but do you think reforming our schools could help prevent the destruction of our society? Or do you think the school system doesn't really play much in the decisions people make in adulthood?
Are you from a state that neighbors Virginia?
No.
Okay,
no.
You thought you heard something in the accent?
I'm in the Alabama, Arkansas, Mississippi area.
Yeah, you talk like a lot of. I've got some friends from the Shenandoah Valley, and you talk like them, like Western Virginia, not West Virginia, the western part of the state of Virginia. That's why I asked. I would have guessed you're from Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia, that area, but not that notwithstanding. I mean, it's one of those things that's such a big issue. I don't really know what to say. It's equivalent to the fall of Rome is happening, and you're thinking, okay, if we fix the water supply, maybe it would get better. And I mean, of course, I'm down to support the school system. I'm down to change the school system because as of now, the school system doesn't teach people skills, and it makes them servile, and it turns them into deranged leftists. So we have to change the school system, but I think that should be done with the expectation that it's not going to save society.
Right.
Yeah,
It's just
that's
like-
true.
I mean, I guess you can't do anything. If you did anything for the point of like explicitly saving society, you're probably going to start doing some pretty drastic shit, right?
Exactly. And it's not going to
So,
work anyway.
You can't even admit that it's for the purpose of saving society because you'll just cause people to become probably like panicking and nihilistic probably. If you go, we're just fucked, like that's probably not a good starting point. But yeah, I mean, that, like with the Mousetopia thing, I guess there is, you know, that was a variable that was not included, was that they had no education system.
The
Like-
mouse
Right.
should have, the mice should have been teaching their kid it's algebra.
Yeah.
So, anything else, Danny?
No. All
Good
right, thanks,
chatting.
caller.
Oh, wait, what?
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Where can people find you?
Whatifalthist. You can
What
check
if-
me out on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and I have a second channel, History 102.
Perfect. Thank you for coming on, man. Rudyard Lynch,
course.
everybody.
Peace,
Have a-
follow your dreams, listen to your heart. Bye.
Have a good one. Later. All right, everybody. You did it. You wore him down, man. You broke his spirit. I could see it happen. That was a great episode, though. I really enjoyed that. That was the show, anyways. He left, but we were done for time, regardless. That's been the show, everybody. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to catch me on Low Value Mail Overtime in about 5-ish minutes, you can do so by joining the channel right here on Low Value Mail on YouTube, or you can sign up on Patreon, patreon.com/Low Value Mail, MAIL, and you can use the promo code LVM2024. It's a Black Friday sale to get 25% off an annual membership. I'm going to do these from time to time. I don't know when the next time I'm going to do it. So if you've been on the fence, you want to join the show, we got a lot to talk about in the after show. I'm sure a lot of you, the phone lines are open in the after show too. So I'm sure a lot of you who didn't get through might have some questions, might have some comments on tonight's episode. Please consider supporting the show. Otherwise, I will see you all next week. I'm trying to think if I need anything else. No, that's all. All right, good night, everybody, and see some of you in the after show. Low Value Mail Overtime. Good night.
You know it, all my shit heroic. Empathic abilities, yeah, my face be also stoic. Bleep, blow up, nigga, that just means I'm working. They see me as a leader, so that's why I'm Captain Kirkin. These tracks from the stars, that much is for certain. You can feel this hit if you up or if you hurting. I'm raising my stock, not talking my feet in some Birkin. Number Johnny 5 got a fucking short circuit. Bring the track to life when I spit phenomenal. When I hit, she feel that shit in her abdominals. These rappers make me laugh like comic view, they comical. You know I got a ball out, I hit the track running just like Sonic do. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, and they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, now we pulling up fresh on some flight shit. Ha. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. They don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, they was trying to get me on my hype shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah, then they tried to down me up some KO type shit. Yeah, they don't wanna turn on my light switch. Yeah.